1926, 22-year-old doctoral student J. Robert Oppenheimer grapples with anxiety and homesickness while studying under experimental physicist Patrick Blackett at the Cavendish Laboratory in Cambridge. Upset with the demand in Blackett, Oppenheimer leaves him a poisoned apple but later retrieves it. Visiting scientist Niels Bohr recommends that Oppenheimer instead study theoretical physics at Göttingen. He completes his PhD there and meets fellow scientist Isidor Isaac Rabi. They later meet theoretical physicist Werner Heisenberg in Switzerland. Wanting to expand quantum physics research in the United States, Oppenheimer begins teaching at the University of California, Berkeley, and the California Institute of Technology. He marries Catherine Kitty Puning, a biologist and ex-communist, and has an intermittent affair with Jean Tadlock, a troubled Communist Party USA member who later commits suicide. In December 1938, nuclear fission is discovered, which Oppenheimer realizes could be weaponized. In 1942, during World War II, U.S. Army General Leslie Groves recruits Oppenheimer to lead the Manhattan Project to develop an atomic bomb. Oppenheimer, who is Jewish, is particularly driven by the Nazis potentially completing their nuclear weapons program, headed by Heisenberg. He assembles a scientific team including Rabi and Edward Teller in Los Alamos, New Mexico, and also collaborates with scientists Enrico Fermi, Leo Szilard and David L. Hill at the University of Chicago. Teller's calculations reveal an atomic detonation could possibly trigger a catastrophic chain reaction that ignites the atmosphere. After consulting with Albert Einstein, Oppenheimer concludes the chances are acceptably low. Teller's proposal to construct a hydrogen bomb is swiftly rejected. He attempts to leave the project, though Oppenheimer convinces him to stay. Following Adolf Hitler's death in 1945, some project scientists question the bomb's relevance, while Oppenheimer believes it will end the ongoing war in the Pacific and save Allied lives. The Trinity test is successful, and President Harry S. Truman orders Hiroshima and Nagasaki to be bombed, forcing Japan's surrender. After the war, when he learned that the Japanese Empire was contemplating surrender and no effort was made by the White House to enter into talks with the Japanese before bombing them without warning, Oppenheimer grew mournful and suspicious of the eventual use of the bombs, particularly the bombing of Nagasaki. As developments in nuclear weapon technology followed, Edward Teller, Oppenheimer's rival scientist, worked tirelessly to get a crash development program for the H-bomb passed by the White House. An H-bomb, also known as the Super, was deemed genocidal by Oppenheimer and the proponents of disarmament. He not only opposed the development of the Super but also likened the USA and Russia to two scorpions in a bottle who can't kill each other without getting killed themselves. He asserted that the Super fusion bomb is a weapon of indiscriminate murder, too big for any military target. The Russians had already developed their atom bomb, and the USA's effort to build a Super would only compel them to build one for themselves, fueling the arms race even further. Though publicly praised, Oppenheimer is haunted by the mass destruction and fatalities, and urges restricting further nuclear weapons development, which Truman curtly dismisses. As an advisor to the United States Atomic Energy Commission (AEC), Oppenheimer's stance generates controversy, while Teller's hydrogen bomb receives renewed interest amidst the burgeoning Cold War. AEC Chairman Lewis Strauss resents Oppenheimer for having publicly humiliated him by dismissing his concerns about exporting radioisotopes, and for recommending negotiations with the Soviet Union, after they successfully detonated their own bomb. He also believes that Oppenheimer denigrated him during a conversation Oppenheimer had with Einstein in 1947. In 1954, wanting to eliminate Oppenheimer's political influence, Strauss secretly orchestrates a private hearing before a personnel security board concerning Oppenheimer's Q clearance. However, it becomes clear that the hearing has a predetermined outcome. Oppenheimer's past communist ties are exploited, and Groves and other associates' testimony is twisted against him. Teller testifies that he lacks confidence in Oppenheimer and recommends revocation. The security hearings decided by a 4-1 vote that Oppenheimer was a loyal citizen. At the same time, they also decided by a 4-1 vote that Oppenheimer was a security risk, and his clearance must not be reinstated, damaging his public image and limiting his influence on nuclear policy. Oppenheimer is politically destroyed, and his self-worth is in shambles, having lost his insider position in the Washington circles. Lewis Strauss won in his conspiracy. In 1959, during Strauss' Senate confirmation hearing for Secretary of Commerce, Hill testifies about Strauss' personal motives in engineering Oppenheimer's downfall, resulting in the Senate voting against his nomination. The fission or the fusion. Oppenheimer is seen being recruited as the director of the Institute of Advanced Studies. Touring the campus as Strauss lays before him the proposal, Oppenheimer's eyes catch Albert Einstein in the garden, and he goes to talk to him while Strauss follows. As Strauss approaches close, the two men talking, Einstein walks past him, ignoring Strauss' greetings. To the monochromatic worldview of Lewis Strauss, he is compelled to believe that Oppenheimer said something against him to Einstein, justifying the latter's grumpy gesture towards the former. To the audience, the dialogue between the two physicists is revealed in its glory. When the bomb was under development, Edward Teller calculated the possibility that the explosion might trigger a chain reaction causing the entire atmosphere to burn and, thus, leading to an apocalypse. Recalculations by Hans Bethe revealed that the probability of such an event was near zero, and therefore, the scientists decided to continue with the development. Oppenheimer is heard reminding Einstein of his conversation with him when the possibility had initially emerged. He follows his recollection with a confession that he believed he did trigger a chain reaction, implying the arms race between the US and the Soviet Union to be that chain reaction that has swallowed the entire world's peace. The New World Order has exchanged global peace for fear of a nuclear holocaust, with the power of destruction in the hands of aggressors defined by genocidal tendencies. In 1963, President Lyndon B. Johnson presents Oppenheimer with the Enrico Fermi Award as a gesture of political rehabilitation. A flashback reveals that Oppenheimer and Einstein's 1947 conversation never mentioned Strauss. Oppenheimer instead expressed his somber belief that he had started a chain reaction that might destroy the world.